Mike and Tom are registered with Stewart Partners Global Advisory LLC.
Common Sense Finance with Mike Wiginton and Tom Farrell of H.L. Wiginton Capital Management, an independent investment and financial planning firm in downtown Jasper. Mike is a chartered financial analyst charter holder, and Tom is a certified financial planner professional. They are here to discuss and give their thoughts on current financial and economic matters. Now, with Common Sense Finance, here are Mike and Tom. Welcome back to another edition of Common Sense Finance. I'm Tom Farrell, and this is Mike Wiginton. We did part one of, the past and the future may look a lot different, talking about some challenges with inflation and interest rates. We're back with part two now, and want to talk about why we feel like the future is still bright.
Yeah, for sure. Both from a perspective of investment opportunity and I think standards of living, actually. Okay, you may have to have a shorter retirement to afford it, but even standards of living for sure. That's what that's really all about. We've said before, we may have even said on a podcast before, that the people, and I use the phrase, at the top of the technology food chain, the people at the very upper echelons of biotech and information tech say that the innovation in the last 10 to 15 years is going to be dwarfed by the innovation in the next 10 to 15. It's kind of hard to comprehend. Yeah. But if you're reading the right journals and listening to the right, and by right I mean certain ones, okay, not that they're maybe I misused the term right, but if you're listening to certain people, some of this has already taken place, and that is that the manufacturing base in this country, the United States, is going to be revolutionized. Okay, yeah. Things like artificial intelligence, robotics, right, and the big one in my mind is 3D printing. Yeah. Okay, and what's going to happen there. And the coronavirus, how it affected the supply chains, right? And people have said we're going to start onshoring, and as a matter of fact, some of that started to happen. Mm-hmm. But when it gets here, it's going to be automated. Robotics are going to play a big part. Labor is going to play a smaller part. But they say, what have people said? That there's going to be a ton of jobs in the skilled trades area, whether it's electricians, welders, and so forth. That right. and corporate America is yelling they can't get enough of those people.
Right. Well, and a lot of this technology and robotics and artificial intelligence and a lot of this technology begets other technology, and it's just a wave, and that's why you were talking about the next 10 to 15 years.
Yes.
Because it usually is not, I think I've heard you say this before, linear, where you have one technology and that's it, but usually you develop something and there's other things developed out of that that will enhance not only the quantity of life, but the quality of life going forward for us. And some of those things are in the medical field. I know you have a couple of things.
Oh yeah, well, the folks in the biotech say that in the next 10 to 15 years they're going to cure diseases that they don't know what they are yet. There's some folks that are more optimistic on some than others, on some diseases more than others. But they said if we could tell you right now what we're going to cure, you absolutely wouldn't believe us. Right. Okay, and but things come to my mind, things that are going on already. The young man that was on the America's Got Talent show a couple of years ago, right? And that he had to do with stem gene therapy, where he was born with a childhood condition, so he was blind from birth, and the doctors identified the gene that caused that. And it was the needle in the eye, which I'm not a big needle in the eye, but they replaced that gene with the correct gene. Now he doesn't have 20/20 vision, but he's not using a cane, walking cane, or any sort of aids, a dog. And he was one of the. I don't think he won it, but he was maybe a semi-finalist on America's Got Talent. But you imagine that, to replace a gene, to be able to identify a defective gene, replace it, and now you can see. Yeah. And then the last one I'll end with, and this is by no means this like all, but with the stem cell therapy and the young lady, the 32-year-old young lady that had suffered a stroke. Now this occurred, and she went to Stanford University, to the clinic at Stanford University, okay? And the doctors there identified the spot on her brain where the stroke occurred. It was a massive stroke. She could make sounds, but you couldn't understand anything she said. She couldn't move her arms or her legs. They made a 3D map of her brain. They spotted. They had identified the spot where the stroke and the vessels were affected there in the brain. They applied her own stem cells, and this is on video. You can see this. Immediately after the surgery, she was already moving her arms, moving her legs. Of course, this is experimental stuff, but it's a picture or a window into the future of what's happening. I mean, that's just amazing.
It is.
And those sorts of things that are going to be able to. She's leading. They have a conversation with her and her husband. After the fact, they've had a child. And living a great life, obviously. But an unbelievable story. You just have to see it, to believe it. So those are the things that that I want to be. Those types of technologies I want to be invested in. I absolutely believe in the future for investment opportunities, and not just longevity for longevity's sake, but quality years, which goes to the standard of living comment that we made earlier. So,
well, with that, there's obviously a lot of bright things to look forward to in the future. So with that said, we'll see you next time.
Woo! Yeah!